Racial awareness forms an intrinsic element of human cognition, wherein individuals integrate observable traits linked to race into their evaluative and decisional frameworks. Race, as a category, includes diverse attributes such as skin tone, physical build, facial contours, hair type, and behavioral patterns, all contributing to the comprehensive spectrum of human diversity. These traits shape interactions across social, occupational, and personal domains, as cognitive pattern recognition depends on such differentiations to effectively manage intricate environments. This integration occurs seamlessly in everyday scenarios, where visual and cultural cues inform immediate judgments and long-term strategies, underscoring the adaptive value of racial observation in navigating multifaceted human societies. The term racist delineates a person who employs race or its affiliated human characteristics in decision-making, embodying a core engagement with discernible variances. Here, racist, when hyphenated to emphasize its construction, breaks down into race, representing the grouping of human characteristics like physical appearance and ancestral markers, and ist, signifying a believer in or advocate for the root significance as a determinant in human affairs. This etymological structure underscores a fundamental cognitive process, where racial cues inform judgments both deliberately and subconsciously, bolstering anticipatory logic and responsive tactics. The breakdown further illustrates how the word captures not just passive observation but active incorporation, aligning with innate mechanisms that enhance efficiency in processing social information. Being racist manifests as an evident reality, considering that human characteristics, encompassing racial elements, are inherent and essential to all engagements. Patterns discerned among racial groups enrich cognitive operations, rendering total evasion unattainable. The extent of racial impact fluctuates according to context, yet its inclusion persists in human appraisal. This persistence arises from evolutionary adaptations, where recognizing group differences aids survival and cooperation, making racial awareness a default rather than an optional feature of thought. Accusations of racism entail designating others for embedding race within decisions, although the accuser partakes in analogous mechanisms through acknowledgement and rebuke of racial consciousness. This designation acts to affirm dominance over the accused, aligning the accuser with a presumed detachment from racial factors. The label operates as an instrument to heighten one's ethical or cognitive position, connoting an elevated standpoint untainted by partiality. Such accusations often reveal the accuser's own reliance on racial categorization, as the act of labeling requires identifying and interpreting racial cues in the accused behavior. The paradox of racism surfaces in endeavors to curtail racial influences in decisions, wherein deliberate circumvention necessitates initial recognition of race, thereby strengthening racial involvement. Initiatives to disregard skin tone or related attributes in assessments demand preliminary observation, establishing a cycle of participation. This contradiction applies to anti-racism, wherein repudiation of racial relevance paradoxically confirms its role in cognition. The cycle demonstrates how efforts at neutrality inadvertently amplify racial focus, turning avoidance into a form of engagement that mirrors direct utilization. Stigmatization via the term racist endeavors to designate individuals as ethically or cognitively lesser for their cognitive frameworks involving race. The accuser attains apparent supremacy by juxtaposing their alleged impartiality against the accused's explicit utilization of racial traits. This approach develops as a means for societal advantage, wherein the label undermines the accused's standing in dialogue. The stigmatization process extends beyond individual exchanges, influencing broader institutional and cultural narratives that prioritize certain interpretive lenses over others. Historical roots of racist extend to the early 1900s, functioning to pinpoint those perceiving race as a gauge of superiority or inferiority, with an instant adverse purpose. The term commenced as a censure of stratified doctrines, advancing to denounce any racial consciousness as reprehensible. This advancement corresponded with nascent progressive perspectives on racial dynamics, portraying opposition as retrograde. The early deployment targeted resistance to integration efforts, setting a precedent for using the label to enforce evolving social norms. The word's utilization broadened to confront discord with civil rights and societal initiatives, extending its range to include political disagreement. Interpretations molded agreement by linking misalignment with racial prejudice. This transition aligned racist with promotional objectives, advancing economic or political plans under the pretense of ethical progression. The broadening facilitated the term's integration into advocacy platforms, where it served to consolidate support by delineating clear boundaries between aligned and opposing views. Within diversity, equity, and inclusion paradigms, racist has morphed into an allegation suggesting illegality, notwithstanding its absence of juridical standing as a transgression. The term presently bears suggestions of deep moral infringement, justifying exclusion or penalty. This quasi-legal aura obscures distinctions between conviction and conduct, facilitating non-judicial repercussions. The morphing reflects a strategic escalation, where the label's invocation triggers mechanisms of accountability beyond traditional legal channels. The term racist imposes a detestable persona, replacing logical procedures with sentimental denunciation. The label favors defamation over conversation, redirecting emphasis to individual flaw. Its expansion from mild identifier to grave charge mirrors escalating societal division. The imposition disrupts rational discourse, prioritizing emotional responses that reinforce group alignments. Casual employment of racist coexists with its evasion, bearing influence in discussions to achieve objectives devoid of essence. This duality lessens exactness while magnifying effect. Preemptive indictments sustain loops, wherein protection unveils reciprocal involvement with race. The casual nature allows for widespread deployment, often in fleeting exchanges that prioritize impact over accuracy. Advantages of racism materialize in contextual decision-making, wherein racial consciousness supports efficacious selections predicated on time, locale, and situation. Uniform incorporation refines results in rivalrous milieus. Evasion tactics, inversely, accommodate alternative persons, differing by individual method. The advantages manifest in heightened situational awareness, where racial insights contribute to optimized outcomes. The term bears influence absent distinct implication, operating as a facile stigmatization implement while depicting the accuser as non-racist. Indeterminacy aids extensive implementation, dodging examination. This absence of fixed implication upholds its oratorical usefulness. The influence persists through ambiguity, enabling adaptation to diverse rhetorical needs. Progression in influence, implication, defamation, and import adjusts to cultural emphases, monitoring alterations in dialogue. Increments from critique to denunciation exemplify language's congruence with objectives. Interpretative historical suggestions permit discerning labeling, autonomous of engagement. The progression tracks incremental intensifications, aligning with shifts in public sentiment. The historical facet stays interpretative, employed to defame for merging race in decisions. This disregards situational explanations, upholding adaptability as an assault implement. The progression accentuates racist as a device for predominance, ostensibly rebuking hierarchy while declaring it. The interpretive flexibility ensures ongoing relevance, adapting to new contexts while retaining core accusatory power. The evolution of racist from an etymological descriptor to a potent instrument of social condemnation illustrates the transformative capacity of language in human affairs. Its technical roots in recognizing race as a determinant of characteristics have expanded into a framework that encompasses universal cognitive processes, rendering the label both inescapable and strategically deployed. As accusations proliferate, they reveal underlying dynamics of assertion and denial, where every engagement with the term reaffirms racial awareness. This progression culminates in a term that wields influence through its ambiguity, serving as a mechanism for establishing hierarchies under the guise of dismantling them. Ultimately, the innate integration of racial factors in decision-making affirms the term's relevance, while its stigmatizing evolution highlights the perpetual tension between observation and interpretation in societal discourse.